Okay, today I'm back with another 924 video. I noticed a while back when I was driving this thing that I kept having to top up the brake fluid. So I was looking for a brake leak, fluid leak somewhere around the calipers, around the lines underneath the car, but there wasn't really anything there. And after letting it sit for a few months now, the master cylinder was actually completely drained. So I had a sneaking suspicion that the master cylinder was bad, the seals, and that everything was leaking into my brake booster. So I'm now in the process of taking it apart and getting it out. As you can see, here we go. That is completely filled with brake fluid. Nasty, dirty stuff. So yeah. This means I will most likely have to get a new brake booster or get it rebuilt, and for sure rebuild the master cylinder. So yeah, getting this thing out was kind of a pain in the ass. This is pretty self-explanatory. There's just some, for the master cylinder here, there's just some electrical connectors. I had to take this evap thing off just to make some room. There's a vacuum line up there, and that is pretty much it on this side. This thing is mounted with 3 studs on the brake booster. You can see one of them right there. There's 2 on top and 1 on the bottom, and you have to access those from the driver's footwell. So getting to those is a pain in the ass, but doable. Okay, here we go on the driver footwell. There you can see the steering connection, and right there above the carpet, I had to peel away some of the insulation and some of the carpet to expose it. So don't worry if you can't see it right away. But right there is the bottom hole for one of the studs, and then there are 2 on top. Basically, to get those out, you just have to lay upside down in the footwell, get a little wrench, and break them loose. I was able to work with some extensions on a little ratchet and get them off. Wasn't too bad. It just took a while until I figured out the right angles to get my hands in there. Especially the top ones are kind of difficult because all of this clutch, brake, gas stuff is above it, is underneath it, so you have to wiggle your hands through there and get the perfect angle, and then you also can't move the wrench or the ratchet very much, so you have to kind of get it at the perfect angle and then go by 1/16 of rotation to actually get those nuts off. But that's not too big of a deal once you know where they are and once you figure that out. Here we got the master cylinder, and like I said, this thing was completely drained by the time I came back to this thing and started working on it again. So yeah, this thing is really easy to take out. It's just 2 electrical connectors, 1 return line up there, 3 brake lines, and then the 2 bolts that connected over here to the brake booster. So you just take that apart. You gotta get this thing out first before you can really move the brake booster. And yeah, now it's time to get this thing out of there without spilling that half a gallon of brake fluid all over my engine bay and ruining all this stuff. Okay, here we go. Got it out with minimal spills. As you can see, most of it is still in there. I had to stick some towels in there and get part of it out. Yeah, the biggest difficulty when taking this out is there's a couple lines that this little lip gets caught on, as well as this back push rod. You gotta get it at the right angle to get it out, and get it around this line right here, this hard line. I was debating if I was gonna take that off. That wouldn't have been too big of a deal, but still. Better that I didn't have to. The throttle cable you can just bend apart, bend away. But yeah, there you can see the 3 holes. You got access from the inside, and got it out with minimal spills, just a little bit, but not too much. So now for the money shot, let's get these out of there. Get this ready. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of brake fluid in there. And that's not even part of it. Okay. So yeah. I don't think the brake booster had any issues when I was driving it, but I'm assuming with months of brake fluid sitting in there, the diaphragm and all the little rubber components are shot. So most likely I'll have to get a new one, but those cars are worth it, so it's not too big of a deal. And they're not horribly expensive, they're pretty bad, but not undoable. In the back here you can see, that's how I actually noticed that it was the brake boost. I had a suspicion it was, but I noticed because back here there was a slight leak. You could even see it from the interior. I'm glad that didn't get very bad, because otherwise I'd have a paint nightmare in the interior. But yeah, good thing I caught it now. Good thing didn't try to drive on this some more. And yeah, it's time to get this thing fixed and back on the road. Planning to get this thing ready within the next few weeks and then be driving it, because that would be a blast. Alright, there we go. So I'll see you back for the install once I got all the stuff back. This brake booster actually completely filled up with fluid. It was filled completely up to about here with brake fluid, nasty gunk, and it even started oozing out of the back here already into the interior of the car. So that leads me to the conclusion that this brake booster is already screwed up after brake fluid sitting in it for months, probably years. I'm sure the diaphragm and all of the bushings are completely messed up, so I'll have to get a new one. Now the master cylinder I was planning to rebuild, I actually took it apart, as you can see here. What's messed up on this is this seal is not the best anymore. Right here, these aren't really doing their job either. They're pretty messed up as well, and this one is completely shot and coming apart. But that's not the main issue. That all could be fixed with a rebuild kit. The main issue is right here. I hope you can see that. There is a massive amount of pitting in that shaft, and that is not going to create a very good seal even after I put a rebuild kit on it, so I'll have to get a new one. Now these brake cylinders, you can still get them. They're about 250 bucks. So that's not really the biggest issue. The brake booster, however, to find an original one for 1980 924 turbo is pretty hard, and they're really expensive as well. So after some research at forums, I came to the conclusion that I can most likely use one from the 951, so the 944 turbo, and just bolt it right up. I finally got my parts for the 924 turbo. Here's the new brake booster and the new master cylinder. Everything seems to fit. Here's my old master cylinder. I've already gone ahead and pulled out the reservoir. Good thing is I'm getting some new bushings for the new cylinder. I cleaned this up as good as I could. Here's the old brake booster. I'll have to remove this mounting point up here, and put this onto the new one. Okay, so I broke this nut loose. Now this is loose as well, but I'm gonna leave it here for a second just to take this measurement and figure out how far I gotta put it in the new one. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just roughly. When I get it the same, I might have to adjust it later, but that's fine. Okay, I've switched over all of the parts. Put this back bracket on, 4 nuts with the locking washers, the little end, as well as this little vacuum valve. So now all that's left is the master cylinder and the little bushing that goes in the end and seals up this area. But I will install this on the car once this is installed. Also, I still have the reservoir here that still has to be installed on the master cylinder. Okay, so now that I got my brake booster in on the top, I gotta put on my 3 favorite nuts along with their locking washers and this little pin that connects the brake booster to the brake pedal. I'm not sure if I'll have to take out the wheel again for this. I probably should have thought of that before I put it back in, but that's not too big of a deal. Okay, so this is kind of hard to show in video, so I'll probably just show when I put the pin in and where I put the bolts, and put the bolts in off camera. Okay, now we're upside down in the footwell, the driver's seat. So right here's the steering rack, and this is the brake. There's the gas just for orientation. This is where the brake booster comes out on the interior, and this is the little arm. Here I have the pin. The pin is gonna go through here, through that hole, and then latch onto this part of the brake booster. So the 3 bolts that are put on, one is all the way up here, the other one is behind the steering rack right there, and the last one is pretty easy, it's down here. So I was able to reach all of those. I just put them on by hand. Got a couple threads on there, and then was using a little wrench with these extensions. For one of them I needed both, for the other one I needed just a little one, and then the last one just the big one. Okay, so now I'm going to align this and put it on. There we go. You can see the pin pop through, and then all I'm gonna do is latch it. There we go. Our brake booster is connected to the brake pedal, and now all I have to do is attach the master cylinder and vent the system, bleed the system out, and then I'll be done. There we go, that looks good. Brake booster is mounted. Now it's just hooking it up. Hooking up the little electrical connectors, and then making sure that I got all the backflow or overflow thing for the reservoir, the vacuum line here, and this little evap vacuum line as well. So here's the final product. Came out pretty damn good. Looks brand new. Bled the brakes. Everything was fine with that. It's real easy. Tested it out. Works great. All four wheels lock up. Obviously no ABS on this thing. Yeah, project completed. At least this part. Thanks for watching. Check out one of my other videos.